Hello, and welcome to another episode of Homebrew the Partial Mash Way. Today we're going to be doing a couple of things. We're going to be going ahead and transferring Bock U, which we made about 2 weeks ago, to secondary. Actually, I kind of wanted to discuss secondary here in a second, but the other thing that we're going to be doing is, unfortunately, I wasn't able to videotape the making of my last beer, that No Name Jalapeno IPA. That's what I'm calling it right now. I'm allowing the groom, whose bachelor party I'm making for it, name it if he likes it. Don't know why, I don't know, just to be fun, whatever. Anyway, he also came over to videotape it with me, but he decided that he didn't want to be on camera, and I decided that I wanted him involved, and I wanted him to be involved in the process, and I didn't want to have to worry about making sure that he wasn't on camera. So I said, you know what, I'm just not even going to bother videotaping it. So sorry about that. However, during this video, I am going to be giving detailed instructions on how to on what I did and how I made that, and I will include the recipe for that jalapeno IPA in the description of this video. So anyway, let's get to it. We're gonna go ahead and do transfer to secondary, and while I'm getting this lid off, I'm gonna talk about how lately I've been reading and hearing and seeing all those things more and more, that, you know, secondary for a beer that you're not gonna introduce any new flavors to during the secondary fermentation, wow, that's on there, is, well, it's kind of not necessary. So I wasn't gonna bother with doing secondary for Bock U because it doesn't have any additional flavors added during secondary. It's more of always been a settling, clarifying proposition for me for when I do secondary. But the problem is that I only have so much keg and kegerator space, and I need that jalapeno IPA to be ready to drink in a little. I think now I have 5 weeks. So that being said, with cow chocolate already in the kegerator, and the fact that I know I won't get through that keg, I probably won't get through that keg in a month, 3 weeks to a month. So what I'm gonna do is Bock U is gonna, and I don't want this sitting on the tube for that long, because I'm actually gonna leapfrog this. This is gonna go into secondary and probably stay in the fermentation area for, another month to 5 weeks before I finally keg it and carbonate it. So yeah, so that's why I'm doing secondary, is to get this off the tube so it can sit in the fermentation area in a glass carboy, and not have to worry about any off flavors produced because of sitting on the tube for that long. So let's go ahead and get this cap off. I hope I explained that correctly. Sometimes I feel like I'm talking in circles. Anyway, get this off. Looks good. I'm gonna go ahead and take a, what am I thinking about? Gravity reading, yeah. Like I said, Steel City fan, Penguins, they won last night. Of course, a couple nights ago, they got the crap kicked out of them, but hey, can't win them all, right? Okay, so this is sitting in my Thief is sitting in Star San, so it's good and sanitized. As always, everything is clean and sanitary. I always do it before I start shooting, just because, well, there's just no point in shooting it unless somebody wants to see how I do sanitary stuff. Then feel free to comment below. Okay, so let's see where she's at. Too much foam, hard to see. It looks like it finished at, it's not going to be very alcoholic. Looks like it finished at, dang it, come back around, I can't see. It looks like 1.02 maybe? Yeah, I'm gonna say 1.02. And as always, I'm gonna take a tasting of that. Okay. Put that off to the side, we no longer need it. Smells good. Ooh, that's good. It's got some bite to it. I successfully fermented. That very well successfully fermented. Oh, that's gonna be good with bubbles. Okay, let's get this transferred. Oh, whoops, you know what? I forgot. I haven't run sanitizer through my auto siphon yet. So I need to do that. So while I let that auto siphon out, I'm gonna go ahead and kill everything for now, and then we'll come back as transfer starts. And I think I'll go ahead and try to lay down some of the instructions for that jalapeno IPA while we're doing the transfer. Okay? Okay, so got everything sorted out. You can see that we're racking secondary. Secondary is obviously down there on the floor. I went ahead and figured out my alcohol content. The ABV is right about 4.6% as it sits right now. The funny thing is I actually had to go back and look at the Baku video to find out what my initial gravity was because I forgot to write it down. So, you know, documenting this stuff is actually come in handy. So, anyway, so yeah, we're just gonna let that go. It's going. It's down now at just above 3 gallons, so it shouldn't take much longer. So let's go ahead and start talking about this IPA that I made on Saturday with my buddy. Again, I'm not going to bother in the video going over the recipe first. I'm just going to go ahead and list the ingredients in the description. So I'm just going to get right into what I did. So for the mash, I mashed 8 pounds of grain. I had to maintain a constant temperature of 155 degrees for an hour. Inside that mash, I actually did take 2 jalapenos. I halved them. I deseeded, deveined, whatever you want to call it. I cut out everything on the inside. I took one of those jalapenos and fire roasted it on the grill until it was good and charred. Then I took I took the 2 jalapenos, so 4 halves, 1 not roasted, 1 roasted, 1 whole jalapeno roasted, 1 whole jalapeno not roasted. So for a total of 2 jalapenos, meaning 4 halves. Sorry about all that. Okay, so those were included in the mash. I had that in the mash as well. Then, so 8 pounds of grain, 2 whole jalapenos, halved, 1 charred, for an hour at 155 degrees. Then I sparged and struck and did my mash strike out at 170 degrees, which is pretty much typically what I do with every beer, unless I get a grain that has other specific instructions. But typically I try to stay away from those grains because I try to make this as easy and as fun as possible. And what I was taking on to that with this brew alone was enough that if I had to include a step mash process or any protein rests or anything like that, it just would have made it even more. This was a big beer. This was a bitch to brew. I'll be real honest. I took on way more than I should have, but my thing was I wanted lots of hops for an IPA. I wanted jalapeno for a bit of peppery, not so much heat, just that pepper, that flavor. I was looking for the flavor, not the heat. And because this is for a bachelor party, I wanted a lot of alcohol. I was really shooting for at least a 12% alcohol by volume. And she's done. So we'll take a break from that. Fortunately, I haven't gotten too far into it. So she's just about done. Try not to block too much. So I don't see any tubes, so I'm gonna go ahead and go further down. Oh, she's actually resting on the bottom. Doesn't look like I'm pulling much of the yucky stuff. I'm almost full on the carboy, because again, I typically what's the word I'm looking for? I typically go over the 5 gallon mark. That way I end up with 5 gallons to drink through loss. Okay, yeah, we'll call that good. She's done. All right, so now all that's left is to cap cap it and put a airlock on it and then set it away and we're done with it. And wouldn't you know, forgot to bring up a cap and airlock. So yeah, I'll be back with that. Okay, so I went ahead and took care of the Bock Ale. It's put away back in the fermentation area. Just gonna let it sit. It's probably gonna be in secondary for, well, probably a month, which is fine. Again, that was kind of the point of actually putting it in secondary, because I'm really curious about trying this, skipping the secondary for beers that don't have any added flavors during the secondary process, just going straight from primary fermentation to the keg. Yeah, definitely gonna give that a try. Anyway, so we left off, we had talked about the mash. We mashed 8 pounds of grain with 2 jalapenos that had been halved and deseeded. One of those had been charred on the grill. So after the mash, I mashed out, with, at 170 degree strike water, did a fly sparge. I mean, if you're watching this video and you haven't seen my system, look at previous videos where I actually use my Herm system that I built. And then you'll understand how my sparging and whatnot works. But this is just strictly just gonna go step through the recipe for this jalapeno IPA. How many times can I say that? I don't know. Anyway, so after the sparge, I got 4 gallons of water, which is pushing the max capacity of just my 5-gallon brew kettle. I really want to get a six gallon or possibly 8 gallon. I don't know if my stove can make that boil, but I'd really like to try. All right, so anyway, 4 gallons of wort, got her up to temp, got her boiling. At the right at the beginning of the boil, I added 1 ounce of Chinook hops plus a ½ pound of extra light DME. Okay, so let's say that again. Right at the beginning of the boil, I added 1 ounce of Chinook hops and then a ½ pound of DME. And you're gonna start seeing a pattern here. After 10 minutes, I added 1 ounce of Summit hops and another ½ pound of DME. After another 10 minutes, I added 1 ounce of Simcoe hops and another ½ pound of DME. Again, I did this because I was really trying to shoot a high gravity. I want this beer to be like, like moonshine of beer, pretty much. I want to get these guys good and drunk. That's what a bachelor party's for, right? And the reason why I'm doing it staggered that way is because I wanted to keep the beer light. I knew by adding this much DME and then later on adding LME, I was going to get the Maillard reaction, and I was going to get the beer was going to get darker and darker and darker. And I was really trying to go for a light, a light brown, light amber to almost yellow color. I wanted a lighter colored beer. So anyway, where did I leave off? I think I was about halfway through. Here's where you're going to see another pattern. At the 30-minute mark, I did 1 ounce of Chinook hops with another ½ pound of DME. Then at the 20-minute mark, 10 minutes later, I did 1 ounce of Summit hops with a ½ pound of DME. And then at the 10-minute mark, with 10 minutes later, 10 minutes left in the boil, I did 1 ounce of Simcoe and another ½ pound of light DME. So I had 3 kinds of hops that I used, and I rotated through them. I did, throughout the boil, I did 6 additions of hops with 3 different kinds of hops that I rotated. The reason I chose the hops and the reason I did that was because I wanted to make their impacts to the beer as even as possible, and also because if you look at the description of those hops, they all have a lot in common as far as flavor and aroma. They're just I think one was passion fruit and one was grapefruit. Okay, they're both fruity. All of them had earthy. Some of them had earthy tones. Some of them had pine. So I was trying to not let one overpower the other, and so by adding all 2 ounces of one at a time at this time, then all 2 ounces, I wanted to see if I could get it nice and balanced. And then with 5 minutes left in the boil, I added 1 ounce of Falconer's Flight hops, You know, because that's the smell that comes off that's really good, so that's why I chose that as the aroma hop. And then the Whirfloc Tablet. Then at Flameout, boil killed, come over on to, you know, you kind of seen where I set up for my immersion chiller on this counter in front of me. I went ahead and added 3 pounds of Pilsen Extra Light LME right at Flameout. Stirred it up real good. Now, some people, you know, it always depends on who you talk to, what forum you read. They'll say that, well, you know, you really don't want to do that. You want to add that with time in the boiler to sanitize. But then there's other people that say, well, it's already been boiled. It's already sanitary, as long as the facility practice sanitation. They're, you know, they have good sanitary practices. So I'm taking a little bit of a gamble that LME wasn't sanitary and that it could cause a problem. It's a little bit of a gamble, but hey, you know, I like that. You know, that's what this hobby is for me. It's experimentation. You know, if you don't try new things, you're never going to find anything new. You know, you get stuck in that same pattern. Anyway, that's enough on that rant. And then, all right, so that's it. The original gravity came out to a whopping 1.073. Yeah, huge. So this has got the potential to be, my guess would be that you know, it's going to be at least a 10 ABV, which that's a pretty serious amount of alcohol in beer. So yeah, so also I did do a yeast starter this time because I knew I was going to have so much sugar, so much fermentable sugar. I was going to have such a high gravity that I did do a full 1,000 milliliter or 1 liter yeast starter. I would say that if you're going to attempt this, I made this mistake and I did not use a blow-off tube. In my head, I was like, I should probably do a blow-off tube, but I was being lazy. It was a long brew day. This was very intense, so much going on. That I just, you know, I said, screw it. I put my normal 3-piece airlock in, and I kept an eye on it, but sure enough, I thought I had done it early enough in the day to where I could tell by the time I went to bed if it was going to blow off. I was wrong. It looked fine at night before I went to bed, woke up the next morning, and yeah, I mean, fortunately I use brew buckets that have a real strong, I mean, they're a pain to get them off. You see me try to get them off. So it didn't blow the lid, but there was a mess. It had come up through the airlock. There was foam and crap and rosin everywhere. So I cleaned it all up, and I did put out a blow-off tube. In fact, throughout all of yesterday, I had to keep switching out what I was using. I was just using a mason jar with star sand in it. I had to keep switching it out because it was just continually blowing out more and more crud. Finally got under control late last night. Now, but still now, even now, if I go by it, I can hear it just thud, thud, thud. I'm getting a good strong bubble every second, if not every 3/4, half second. I mean, it's going wild. So again, I recommend if you're going to make this, either have it bigger than a 6.5 gallon fermentation vessel, or just go ahead and put a blow off tube on it. You know, don't even risk not having that blow off tube. So anyway, you're going to see me do the rest of this. I really plan on filming the rest of it, but I'll go ahead and finish what my plan is on here. So I'm going to ferment it for 2 weeks. That's just kind of my standard practice. I just, you know, that's just the way I do it. Some people say you don't need to go that long, but I just like, you know, it's a nice time frame. So I go 2 weeks for the fermentation. Then I'm going to switch it to secondary, and the reason I'm going to switch it to secondary is because I'm going to go 2 more jalapenos. Well, no, let me rephrase that. I'm going to go a week in the secondary after I transfer it. Then the last week, I'm going to be dry hopping with 2 ounces of hops, and I'm going to also put 2 more jalapenos in the secondary. I'm going to split them, clean the seeds, clean the veins, char one of them. They will be halved, so I'll have, you know, 2 whole, 4 halves, whatever you want to say, jalapenos in the secondary for the last week of secondary fermentation. Because again, I'm not really looking for the heat. I'm just looking for that peppery flavor. If there's a little bit of heat, hey, that's great, but I'm more looking for that pepper flavor. And with the charring of 1 or 2 of them, Well, yeah, 3 of them really. Cause I forgot to mention, backtrack. I also had 2 jalapenos, halved, deseeded, 1 charred, 1 not in the boil for the entire boil. So yeah, sorry about that. Crap, I wish we'd go back in time, but I'm not gonna redo this because yeah, I just wanna get it done and I wanna get it out there. So anyway, so yeah, definitely, yeah, that's how I did it, was 2 more jalapenos, 1 charred, 1 not, halved, deseeded in the boil, and then I'm gonna do 2 more jalapenos, 1 charred, 1 not, halved, deseeded in secondary fermentation for the last week. And that's pretty much it. Again, I'm going to, and I'm gonna be dry hopping for the last week as well. Again, I'm gonna put all my ingredients in the description so you'll know what ingredients I use. And that's pretty much all I have for today. Can't think of anything else. Hope this made sense. Again, if you want to try this and you watch the video and you have any questions, comments, issues, concerns, throw them in the comment section. I'll be happy to respond and help you through if you do want to try this. Or if you think I'm a complete nut job for trying this and want to criticize me, hey, all comments are welcome. And again, if you like what I'm doing, you want to see more, make sure you're notified. Hit the subscribe button. Click the bell. Make sure you're notified. If you like what you see, hit the thumbs up. If you don't like, hit the thumbs down. Okay. So that's it. That's it for today. So yeah, we'll see you next time. And I gotta believe the next thing we'll be doing will be putting. I'll be putting this IPA in secondary. Hey, you know what? What the heck? Also, if you want, give me suggestions for the name of the beer. I'm open to anything. I was kind of playing around with hoppin' hot, or hot hops, something like that. So anyway, until next time, cheers.